Hey, so the movie that I did my research and the one that I watched was Beast of No Nation. Beast of No Nation was about a movie based on a novel that Evalia wrote. I don't know if I said his name right, but the director of the movie was Wukanga. He was the same director that directed Sin Nombre as well. And the film was basically about a young West African boy named Agu who was forced to become a child soldier, and he watched his father and his brother die in front of his eyes, which was really sad, and he just ran into the woods until he was basically captured by the NDF rebels who trained him, and he became part of their army basically. And in the rebel force, he was forced to kill innocent people, and he basically lost his innocence doing that, and he was forced to grow up, and he was not a child anymore. And he was also raped by the commandment, and there was basically no safe place for these child soldiers. And this part talks about of how well Wukanga, the director, directed the movie. And it talks about how in the beginning the movie was like slow paced. It was like we were getting to know the characters. We were especially getting to know Agu and his funny and personality, and like he was a happy kid that was loved by all. Then after the government force comes into their village, the pace of the movie starts to change, and it starts becoming quite fast paced, and he didn't know what to do, and things were changing very quickly, and the audience gets to know when something is going to happen through the music and through the different shots that Wukanga uses throughout the film. And one in particular thing that stood out to me was when the commandment took the boys and some of the other soldiers to the brothel. It was a very eerie feeling, and Wukanga did a really good job of like with the lighting and the shots, and the audience just could anticipate of something was going to happen. This was an article that I found about how there's still a lot of children soldiers fighting in Africa. Children in Africa, there's a bunch of wars in Africa where the children get abducted by the rebels, and they basically are forced to go into the army force, and if they resist, they'll basically get killed. And the government in many of these countries are corrupt, and the rebels are paying them to stay quiet and help them recruit the kids. That's why it's a little bit hard for the government to control children not getting involved in basically becoming a soldier. And it's really sad to see that it still happens today, and it happens in not only Africa but other countries as well, which is really sad. And there's a tweet that I found about the TPLF movement, where it just shows that these children and soldiers are still getting recruited, and it was just really sad for me to see that. And it just puts into perspective that there's still so many countries out there that uses children as soldiers, and this makes the children lose their innocence at a very young age and makes them grow up at a very young age. I'm just talking about how I personally felt about the movie. I really enjoyed this film for many reasons. It really put into perspective for me, if I was in Agu's shoes, how would I feel? Like, I can't even imagine, like, being 12, seeing my dad and my brother die in front of my eyes. I just can't imagine going through that. Like, that's really hard for me to understand. And this movie really helped put into perspective of the social issues that are still happening around the world today that sometimes we forget about. Because it's not happening in our country, it doesn't mean that other countries don't have the social issues. And I talked about the scene that was really hard for me to watch, which was the one where he sees a mother and a girl, and he thought that it was his mom and his sister, and he holds on to them as tight as he can because he really thinks that they're loved ones, but they're not. And he sees the woman get raped and the girl get beat, and it was just really hard for me to watch and be like, these people are someone's mother and someone's sister, and they have to beat them up and they have to rape them because that's the way that they're trained, and if they don't, they'll probably get killed. It was just really hard for me to understand the social issue, but it also helped me in a way to understand the social issue that goes around in Africa and in other countries as well. And this movie did a really good job. I think the director also directed the movie really well, and I really enjoyed this film and this class in general. Thank you.